All right, I don't have a gavel, but I'd like to call this meeting to order. It is Monday, April 6th, and this is our first version of a virtual City Commission meeting, City of Sault Ste. Marie. So welcome, everybody, and thank you for coming. Could we have a roll call, please, Robin?
Yep. Mayor Gary,
Here.
Commissioner Baker,
Here.
Commissioner Bosphus Rath,
Here.
Commissioner Collins,
Here.
Commissioner Miller,
Here.
Commissioner Talentino,
Here.
Commissioner Twardy.
Here.
All present via Zoom. So whoever's got the flag, if we could all stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
To the republic
for which it stands,
one
one nation,
under
under
God,
God, indivisible,
with
liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. And I think before I have a couple mayor comments, Brian Chapman, the city manager, wanted to go over a little bit of our game rules tonight.
All righty, so welcome everyone to our first virtual meeting. It's going to be a little awkward at times. So for the new participants coming in to the meeting, everyone outside of the commission, including staff, will be on mute. The meeting will be ran just like a normal meeting. There will be opportunities to give public comment on items or during the standard sections of just general comments to the commission. So for new people coming in, everyone is on mute. During the time to solicit public comment, we will unmute it. I ask everyone just to be patient so we can kind of get a tally of who wants to talk at what. It's going to be a little awkward at times, and we're going to learn as we go along the way, but I just ask everyone to be patient with us as we get names and we'll move forward. And again, everyone's going to be on mute until the appropriate sections, and I will unmute you as we get in there. So with that, if there's no other questions from the commission, I will turn it over to Mayor Jerry so he can continue on with the meeting.
And I will say that I have a copy of the roll call, and when we get to the point where we're discussing any of the agenda items, we thought it would be easier if I called everybody's name individually to see if they have any questions or comments. And when we go through that, also if we start to have a different type of discussion, if you could raise your hand just so that we can follow along. So everybody get it?
Yep.
Okay, so just starting out with mayor comments or general announcements. Certainly, this is an extraordinary time for everybody. There isn't much that I can say that hasn't already been said by other politicians, news media representatives, healthcare professionals, or residents in this country or other countries across the globe. We are all impacted some way by the COVID-19 pandemic, but we're all in this together. In many ways, this crisis has helped to highlight some of the best in our societies. And on behalf of the city, I'd like to extend our sincere thanks to all those who work in essential services to ensure that we have all the items and services necessary to sustain or protect our lives. From the truck drivers and store clerks to those who are pumping our gas, as a city, we thank you. To all the nonprofit and service organizations who've stepped up to help all those in need, we certainly thank you. To the employees of the Sioux Area Public Schools who have served up 15,000 meals to families in this community in need, we thank you. Everybody at War Memorial Hospital, Chippewa County Health Department, and working in the healthcare industry who are on the front line to help those who are sick and in need, we thank you. To all the emergency service providers and first responders who are always there when we need you, thank you. Special thanks go to all the community members for doing your part in slowing the spread of the COVID-19 virus, and especially for helping those in need in our community. The positive stories are nothing short of inspirational, and they're the very reason that we all like to live in incredible communities like Sault Ste. Marie. Our city, government has and will continue to provide essential community services and police and fire protection. It's up to you, the community members, to ensure that you continue to be good community members and protect yourself and protect others by following the recommended social distancing and hygiene protocols. Do yourself a favor and follow only reputable news sources. This is understandably a difficult time, and misinformation certainly can increase your stress. Know that you are not alone, and we will all get through this time together. Moving on into B, proclamations and recognitions.
Did you want to do it?
I'm going through the security check. Just a second, it's opening. All right, here we go. So this is a proclamation from the City of Sault Ste. Marie. Sorry, I'm still clicking. It's a proclamation of Sexual Assault Awareness Month, April 2020. Whereas sexual assault affects women, children, and men of all racial, cultural, and economic backgrounds, and whereas in addition to the immediate physical and emotional costs, sexual assault may also have associated consequences of post-traumatic stress disorder, substance abuse, depression, homelessness, eating disorders, and suicide. And whereas sexual assault can be devastating for not only their survivor, but also for the family and friends of the survivor. And whereas no one person, organization, agency, or community can eliminate sexual assault on their own, but we need to work together to educate our entire population about what can be done to prevent sexual assault, support victim and survivors and their significant others, and increase support for agencies providing services to victim and survivors. And whereas Sexual Assault Awareness Month provides an excellent opportunity for citizens to learn more about preventing sexual violence, and that this is a crime that is 100% preventable. Now therefore be it known that I, Don Gary, Mayor of the City of Sault Ste. Marie, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2020 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in the City of Sault Ste. Marie. In witness thereof, I hereunto set my hand and cause the seal of the City of Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan to be affixed this 6th day of April 2020. Thank you, and I don't think there's anybody here to speak to the proclamation. Is that correct, City Manager?
That is what I understand.
Okay. So that was item B1. Now we're moving into item C1, notice of public comment. This is where it'll be tricky, but I think the city manager will unlock everybody's microphones, and any person may reserve time to speak on any agenda item not to exceed 3 minutes. I will call for public comment at the time the agenda is addressed from this list of individuals that reserve time to speak. So is there anybody online that would like to make any comments on any of the agenda items today?
Okay, my friends were there. I looked at his TikTok page, and on March 24th, he was at a Meijer in Southeast Michigan.
Excuse me.
Okay, is there anybody online that would like to make any comments on any of our agenda items tonight?
Hi, Rebecca Bolin and Jake Anderson here. We would like to make a comment about the development of the old Garfield School.
All right, we will, that is item, I'm assuming it's on the pilot.
Yes.
That's item G4.
Thank
Rebecca,
Hey,
who
Doc.
else was commenting with you?
Jake Anderson.
All righty, thank you.
Rebecca, were you wishing to speak on the rezoning or on the consideration of the Garfield Landing pilot? She's muted.
Sorry, I tried to unmute to prevent background noise.
No problem. Is that on the pilot itself?
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you. All right, is there anybody else that would like to make any public comments? They're muted.
They all muted themselves. I unmuted
Okay.
everyone.
All right. So moving on to item D, which is the consent agenda. That would be moving to Robin Troyer.
Mr. Mayor, do you want us to run through the entire consent agenda, or do you want to just ask if there's any questions and just vote on it?
I think if we ran through them just real quickly for those that haven't had a chance to review that are listening in.
Okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
All right, so under the consent agenda, 1 is approval of the city commission meeting minutes of March 2nd, 2020. Approval of the city commission special meeting minutes of March 2nd, 2020. Acceptance of the airport advisory board meeting minutes of February 13th, 2020. Acceptance of the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority meeting minutes of February 11th, 2020. Acceptance of the Economic Development Corporation meeting minutes of February 11th, 2020. Acceptance of the PEHP Patrol Unit meeting minutes of February 26, 2020. Acceptance of the Police Fire Pension Board meeting minutes of January 15th of 2020. Item 8 is acceptance of the Sault Ste. Marie Housing Commission meeting minutes of December 18th, 2019 and January 30, 2020. Item 9 is designation of street administrator. Item 10, authorization of a contract with the state of Michigan for the annual purchase of road salt. And item 11 is approval of the consent agenda items as presented.
Thank you, Deputy City Manager Robin Troyer. Is there any commissioner that would like an item further explained or removed from the consent agenda for further discussion? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve Commissioner Twardy on the iPad?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
Been moved by Commissioner Twardy and supported by Commissioner Miller. Are there any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Bosbus Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy.
Yes.
Motion passed. Thank you. Item E, special orders of business. There are none this evening. Item F, communications, also none. So we're moving into item G, business items. And for that, we'll call on City Manager Brian Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First up is consideration of the second reading of a series of ordinances that the Ordinance Review Committee has gone through. This is a second reading. This item was in front of you during the first March meeting. If there's any questions, we'll be happy to answer it, but staff would look for a motion to adopt the resolution or ordinance as presented.
Thank you, City Manager. And I'll run through the roll call. Commissioner Baker, any questions or comments?
No, sir.
Commissioner Bosbus Rath, any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Collins,
No, thanks.
Commissioner Miller,
No, Your Honor.
Commissioner Talentino,
Oh, no, thank you.
and Commissioner Twardy.
No, thank you.
And do we have a motion to approve? Anybody's finger? Commissioner Collins.
Motion to adopt the ordinance as presented.
Support?
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments for the city manager? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Bosbus Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy,
Yes.
Mayor Gary.
Yes. Motion passed. Thank you. Under G, business items, number 2, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For commission consideration is another item based out of the work from the Ordinance Review Committee. This one deals with vegetation. We would look for a motion to adopt the ordinance as presented.
Commissioner Bosbus Rath, any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Collins,
No, thanks.
Commissioner Miller,
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Commissioner Talentino,
No, thank you.
Commissioner Tuarty,
No, thank you.
Commissioner Baker.
No, thanks.
Do we have a motion to approve the ordinance as presented? Commissioner
Motion.
Miller?
I move we adopt the ordinance as presented.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Are there any questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Baspas Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Tuarty,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker.
Yes.
Motion passed. Thank you. G, business items, number 3, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For commission consideration is the second reading of a request to rezone the former Garfield School site from B1 to RM2. This subject is tied to a project, but we're not viewing it with the project in mind. We feel this rezone would be appropriate regardless of the project that may be following after this. Kelly Freeman, the Community Development Director, is online if there's any questions, but this was an item that was in front of you during the first March meeting. The motion is to approve the included ordinance to rezone the Farmer Garfield site. Staff and the Planning Commission would recommend approval.
Okay, thank you, City Manager. And again, as City Manager recognized, this is a motion and discussion to approve a rezoning back to the condition that it was prior to a commission change a few years ago. So, Commissioner Collins, any questions or comments on this item?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Miller,
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Commissioner Talentino, any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
Commissioner Tuarty, any questions or comments?
No, thank you.
It's kind of hard to find the appropriate box to look at when. Commissioner Baker, any questions or comments?
No.
Commissioner Baspas Rath.
No, thank you.
Okay, would anybody like to make the motion? Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to approve included ordinance to rezone the former Garfield School site parcel number 051-686-001-00 from B1 local business to RM2 multiple family residential.
Support.
Thank you. It's been moved and supported. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Do we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Tuarty,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Baspas Rath.
Yes.
Motion has passed. Thank you. G, business items, number 5, City Manager Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For commission consideration is the pilot as requested for the Garfield Landing. Just an administrative note. So what I'll do is give my usual spiel as an introduction. I will unmute CJ and Alan Martin. They are the development leads on this project. We'll give them a couple minutes if they have any kind of questions. We'll keep them unmuted. After that, we'll roll into the public comments where we've got Rebecca and Jake set to give comments, and then we'll move into commission discussion. So
I think we're on number 5.
4.
am I on the wrong one?
Am I on the right one?
No, we're on 4.
Yeah, we're on 4.
Oh, I'm sorry. My fault.
So I'm
Keep
right,
going.
right? Okay.
Mute me.
Yeah.
Hey,
All right, so
You're
for commission, yes, Mr. Collins, Commissioner Collins.
I just got an error on here for the last time we voted. It basically said that it wasn't recorded. Did you get that, Robin?
Yep, I did.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so for commission consideration is the adoption of the pilot as presented. This particular item has 3 motions to it. Adopt the payment in lieu of tax ordinance as presented, authorize city manager to execute the MSA agreement, and authorize the city manager to execute the guarantee associated with the MSA. So this project has a pilot that's being requested for the former Malcolm property. It is an apartment development. Malcolm Lofts is the refer name to the project. This was an item that was on your March 2nd commission meeting. There was some community outreach in terms of notices that we were statutorily required to do. There is a fiscal impact. There will be a slight increase in the property that in the revenues that we would occur from the property. If you look at it in the lens of the entire property, if it was developed without the pilot, we wouldn't be getting as much, but we will be bringing in more than what we are right now on the particular property. At this time, I will unmute CJ and Alan Martin, the leads on the project, and open it up if they have any comments they'd like to make to the commission.
Thank you, Brian. This is CJ. I just want to thank you for providing this forum. It's super important to continue to conduct city business, and we appreciate this happening tonight. We're under a bit of a time constraint. MSHDA pushed the application deadline back for what would have been the April 1st round to May 1st. There's been a lot of discussion if that might get pushed back further, but we are working under the premise right now that we will be on a May 1st application, and the matters that are in front of you tonight are important to getting that application done. We really appreciate the partnership with the city.
All righty, so I will keep you unmute. I can't unmute Alan Martin's line. I don't know if he has anything else he'd wish to add, but with that, Mr. Mayor, I would suggest going into commission comments.
All right, thank you very much, and thank you, CJ and Al, for your attendance. I think before we do that, we have 2 individuals that would like to comment, and it's Rebecca Bolin and Jake Anderson. I don't know if you are 1 commenting period or 2 individual, but if you could make sure Rebecca is unmuted.
I think I am. You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Awesome. I just wanted to thank you. I believe my comments for the last meeting were read into the record. I am the immediate next door neighbor west of the proposed development, and as I stated in my letter, I'm really excited about this project. Since sending that email, unfortunately I was out of town when you had the last meeting, but since that time there's been a little bit more activity over there. In particular, the pigeons and other pests are trying to move into my property. So the sooner this happens, the better for the immediate neighbors, definitely. But I wanted to thank you for receiving my comments the last meeting, and I'm going to turn it over to Jake.
Hello. I just wanted to state that I personally know how difficult it is to find good, safe housing in this city. And especially when I was a student just last year, you know, my family and I would have qualified for just this type of housing for this development. And so I'm excited to see more of this type coming to our city.
Thank you, Jake. It looks like, I don't know how we do this, Brian, but it looks like there is a group chat from Megan Kinney to everyone, and it says, those of us in the neighborhood are very supportive of this zoning change. So it was on the last item, Megan on Spruce Street next door. So I apologize that we missed that on the last item. We had great discussion on this item at the last in-person public meeting that we had, and I thought we had some good questions and some good answers. And I too am excited about seeing this project move forward. This is a blighted site right now. It is a building that's historic in nature and certainly has a lot of potential. And I know that CHN and CJ and Al have made a good commitment to the city of Sault Ste. Marie. They tried to put an application together on a different parcel, and that one fell through, not to any fault of their own. And this looks like a great opportunity for two reasons. One is it's a arm's length transaction with Lisa Corbier, who did try to develop it and had some really nice plans for it. And it'll also develop it into a nice parcel, nice property. And I think we have all seen the site plan that they have given us. I know there's a lot of discussion back and forth about the need for affordable housing or not the need for affordable housing. And I think CJ at the last meeting outlined some of the parameters with the median income and those that would qualify. And I think we all see that there are some affordable units there, and it won't be people of the lower echelons. Not that that's bad, but so there will be some higher rent available. So it's exciting to see a project like that move forward. Super exciting to see a good use of that building and of that lot, and certainly it will be nice to have some higher rents coming from that facility now. And I think you saw in the packet that it will be, it's not huge, but right now this current tax capture is $1,500 for the city, and the municipal services agreement alone will be $7,000 plus raisers. So certainly does a lot more for the community than having a vacant building. So let's move into commissioner comments. And Commissioner Miller, do you have any questions or comments on this item?
No, Your Honor, I don't.
Commissioner Talentino.
Thank you, Your Honor. I think everybody knows which way I'm going to go on this. It's no secret. And I just want everybody to fully understand why I'm going to continue to vote no on any type of pilot as long as I'm a commissioner for the city of Sault Ste. Marie. Until we've had some type of valid study done of what we actually do need and don't need, we are simply making a decision on an investor coming in. We don't have any hard facts or figures in front of us. I really think the city manager, Brian, we should take a look at doing some type of study. I think we might be quite surprised what we learn. Plus, it'll give you another avenue of help us sell our city. You know, we can present it to people. So until we get any type of study, I will be absolutely no for any pilot in the city of Sault Ste. Marie. Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner Talentino. Commissioner Twardy, any questions or comments?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess I'm just going to say that I don't quite agree with Tim, Commissioner Talentino, because we do have a pilot ordinance and we took an oath of office to uphold the ordinances that we have in this town. So until the pilot is repealed or we no longer have a pilot, I feel like it's our responsibility to request a pilot if that's what's being requested of us. So, and I also just wanted to say that I had a nice conversation with Lisa Corbier. She is truly in love with this building. And if she wasn't very passionate about this project, it would be a little bit harder sell for her. But she really is excited about this project moving forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Twardy. Commissioner Baker, any questions or comments?
Just a comment. I'm in full support of this, and basically off of my recent house hunting experience myself for renting. So I'm excited for some new development to happen, especially with an old building. So kudos to CJ and the CHN group.
Thank you. Commissioner Bosbus-Rath.
Just a comment. I'm in full support of this. Like you said, it's better than having the building be sitting there. So I think it's great and I'm excited.
Thank you. Commissioner Collins.
Yeah, just a comment. Basically, we all know that there's a housing issue in the city. I don't think it's an issue of a housing shortage. Obviously, that doesn't make sense being that we used to have a population of 18,000 and now we have 13,000. So obviously it's not that we have a housing shortage, it's a matter of quality housing. So in my mind, when I look at this program, in lieu of somebody else coming in, which is a non-pilot type development, absolutely, I'm going to be in support of a pilot program. Any type of development that's going to make our city better and make it more housing available, quality housing available to our residents is something that I'm in support of. And then, of course, the extra revenue coming back to the city as well. So it's not like we have people banging down our doors to come in and develop with inside the city. So to me, this is a win-win.
Thank you, Commissioner Collins. So we went through the lineup. Does anybody have any other questions or comments that they'd like to say before we get a motion?
Just one.
Commissioner Baker.
Just a question for CJ. Is the real estate agreement with Ashman Street still on the table with this project?
Good question. Thanks.
Yes, thank you, Abby. We did extend the purchase agreement for 724 Ashman for another 12 months, fully executed, and it's contingent upon Garfield Landing project going forward, but we are highly confident and we intend to hold up what we would do a year ago.
Fantastic, thank you.
All right, thank you. Who would like to make the motion? Commissioner Twardy has her pen up.
I'll make a motion to adopt the payment in lieu of tax ordinance as presented.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Any questions or comments before we hold the vote? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Miller,
No.
Commissioner Talentino,
No.
Commissioner Twardy,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Bosbus Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins.
Yes.
Motion has passed. Thank you very much. And thank you, CJ and Al, for your commitment.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, under G, business item.
Wait, there's two more motions.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Woo, trying to move it along. Commissioner Twardy, the second motion.
I'll make a motion to authorize the city manager to execute the municipal services agreement as presented.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Any questions or comments from the commission? Roll call, please. I'm trying to take it smooth so we can give her time to reset that.
Commissioner Talentino,
No.
Commissioner Twardy,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Bosbus Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
No.
Motion has passed. Thank you. And Commissioner Twardy, the third action.
I'll make a motion to authorize the city manager to execute the guarantee associated with the municipal services agreement as presented.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Are there any other questions or comments? Roll call, please.
Commissioner Twardy,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Bosbus Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
No.
Commissioner Talentino.
No.
Motion has passed. Thank you. Under G, business items, number 5, City Manager Chapman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next up for commission consideration is formal acceptance of the city attorney's notice of resignation and intent on retiring. Steve has been with the city for a very long time. He has helped us out an incredible amount from everything from contracts to labor, just general advice. Staff recommends, kind of sadly, to accept the city attorney's resignation. And we'll talk more about this on the next item as well.
Thank you, City Manager. And Steve, if you can hear us there, I see you're muted, but we certainly thank you for your dedicated service to the City of Sault Ste. Marie. I understand that you've been city attorney or working for the city attorney since 1981, 39 years. And as contract employee for the city since 1991, which is 29 years. Certainly, if we hadn't had Mr. Brown down in St. Ignace or one other, you'd probably be the longest tenured city attorney in the state. But a couple people beat you, but I guess you're not going to beat them to that. But we certainly appreciate your service to the community, and the wealth of knowledge that you have is incredible. And I know a lot of us have consulted you as a personal attorney, so you're certainly a highly regarded attorney, and I know you will probably continue to do that in private practice. So go around the room. Do we have any questions or comments about the item? Well, why don't we just, you can put your finger up for this one if you have any questions or comments. Commissioner Miller.
Steve, I just want to thank you for your service to the city. And when I was appointed to the city commission a couple of years ago, you took me through the process and explained everything to me. And I really respect you, and congratulations on your retirement.
Any others? Commissioner Talentino.
Thank you, Your Honor. Steve, I just want to kind of mirror what Commissioner Miller just said. The city really does appreciate your service as city attorney. Enjoy this time of your life. Go get some fishing, do some hunting. Enjoy your wife and kids, and good luck with your future endeavors, my friend. Thank you for your service.
And also, Steve, keep in mind that there would be absolutely no conflict if you wanted to take any of us fishing. So who would like to make the motion to accept the resignation of the city attorney, Stephen Cannello? Commissioner Miller.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move we accept the resignation of the city attorney.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Are there any questions or comments at this time? Do we have to do a voice vote or a roll call? Let's do a roll call vote.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Bosbus Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Tuarty.
Yes.
Motion is passed, and thank you for your service, Steve. Moving on to G, business items number 6. City Manager Brian Chapman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For commission consideration is a request for an agreement between the city of Sault Ste. Marie and McGraw-Morris. As the commission is aware, and the action they just took, city attorneys retiring, the world that we live in right now with the COVID virus going on, not only makes general work difficult, but recruitment's also difficult right now. So we are looking to have in place an agreement with a law firm to act as a gap once Steve leaves, and the commission has the opportunity to really review what kind of direction they want to go in with the city attorney. McGraw-Morris is a firm that I worked with downstate. Our point of contact with them will be Kevin Kilby. He's an outstanding guy, former cop, former city manager, now city attorney. Through the purchasing policy, I do have some abilities to solicit a professional services agreement with a firm without necessarily going through the full bidding problem up to or process up to $1 amount. I would look for a motion to approve the agreement with McGraw-Morris and designate the city manager as the point of contact. And the only reason why I am asking to be designated as the point of contact is just to make it easy between the two entities, being City Hall and the firm.
Thank you, City Manager. We'll go through a roll call to see if you have any questions or comments. Commissioner Tuarty.
No comments, no questions.
Commissioner Baker.
Nope.
Commissioner Bosbus Rath.
No, thank you.
Commissioner Collins.
Yeah, I have a question. So having the city manager as a designated point of contact, is that just to basically make sure that you're controlling the workflow?
In part of it, yes. So most of the times, if we were to work with Steve on an item, it would probably come out of my office anyways. There's also a budgetary issue that comes with it, that I can control the budget a little bit more, but it's by no means an attempt to control what would be your formal employee. It's just a work process thing. If you guys still have questions that you want to ask, I can submit those to the attorney. It's not a workaround, but yes, it's to control the process and the flow of information, as well as some of the dollars behind it. They'll charge us an hourly fee, so any request, any email, any phone call, any review will be charged an hourly fee. There's no retainer to it. So just from a budgetary standpoint too, if all 7 of you were to inundate the attorney with just everything and anything, we would start creeping into expenses that may bust our budget on that line item too. So it's just a temporary stopgap until we figure out more permanently what you guys want to do long term.
Makes sense to me. I'm good with that.
Thank you. Commissioner Miller, any questions or comments?
Well, to what extent would this company be like handling anything that we have going on in the courts right now, or
nope? So
things that may arise, like from Mr. Canello's retirement on.
So it would be from things of Mr. Cannell's retirement on, but what this firm doesn't do is the local prosecution side of it. So the city attorney position kind of has 3 major functions. They act as the general counsel or the attorney to the city. They act as what would be the local prosecutor on some of the municipal fines, and then just kind of special projects, personnel, labor relations, stuff like that. So what this firm would be responsible for is assisting us in the latter of the two, the contracts, labor negotiations, personnel issues. The local prosecution function would be delegated to the county prosecutor at this time. Chief Riley has had a conversation with the county prosecutor. They're willing to take on some of our local citations and complaints that may come through for the time being. So anything local that would be a municipal infraction would still be handled by the county prosecutor. This firm would be responsible for contract review, contract creation, personnel issues, labor negotiations, all that kind of stuff.
Thank you.
Good question, Commissioner Miller. And then I'll go to Commissioner Talentino, and then I'll circle back around to Commissioner Collins. Commissioner Talentino, any questions?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. Now, is this something, City Manager, that we're going to take a look at, and let's say a year from now, and take a look at it and say, hey, maybe it's working, maybe it's not? Or do you have a window that you want to put on something like that?
Yeah, a couple months. I mean, it's a little bit shorter than a year. It's just a stopgap. Depending on what you guys want to do with the position, there's some different options. Like I said, unfortunately, to start soliciting and have meetings with firms and all that stuff in the world that we live right now may be a little goofy or awkward at times. So just as we continue to move through that process, it's more of a comfort thing for me to make sure I have somebody behind me that if there was an issue that was to come up, we had a firm that we could immediately go to, instead of every time there's a separate issue, starting to get on the horn and call around and say, hey, do you have any experience in this? Would you recommend anybody? What would you charge? What would you this? So it just streamlines that situation to where if we do have an emergency, or not even an emergency, if we just have a business need, we've got that firm already on deck and ready to go.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Commissioner Collins, you had a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about the box store litigation. I mean, are they going to be able to kind of be the liaison, or like Steve was, or how are they going to handle that? Are we?
So they can be. Right now, we're soliciting a different firm that Steve recommended to handle the case.
Okay.
Foster Swift, I think. Robin, nod your head if that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're kind of breaking out some of those products. Robin and I met with Steve last week over the phone to discuss what he had ongoing. So this will take care of that general counsel, municipal attorney role. The MTA over the Meyer case, we're looking at a different firm that Steve recommended. This one can do it, but Steve's recommendation is that they've had more experience with larger cases such as what we have going on. So we can look to see what that firm has to offer and what their rates would be, and then move forward accordingly. But this isn't intended to take on that case, but it certainly can if that's the decision we wanted to go to, but that's not part of this particular request.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Would somebody like to make a motion to approve the city manager's proposal? Commissioner Miller had his up first, I think.
Thank you, Your Honor. I move to approve the proposal with McGraw Morris for municipal attorney services and designate the city manager as the point of contact.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Are there any other questions or comments for the city manager? Could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Baker, Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Vasquez Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Twardy,
Yes.
Mayor Gary.
Yes. Motion has passed. Thank you. G, business items number 7, City Manager Chapman.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, for commission consideration is a request from my office to close Sherman Park Campground for the 2020 camp season. This request is coming off of the heels of the Army Corps of Engineers inking a contract with their contract firm for the redevelopment of the locks. As the commission is aware, it's going to be a relatively large project. There's going to be a lot of outside contractors coming into the city. Staff and I met with a representative of the firm that's doing the dredging and possible deepening of the channels. They have a need of finding a spot where they can house their employees. They're looking for a large plot of land or a campground where they can set up, I think it was like 15 or so brand new trailers. Their employees can live out of there for the season. The request is kind of a trade-off in exchange for exclusive use of Sherman Park Campground. They will build out the site to be more modern with the inclusion of water, sewer, and electric. There's some paperwork that we'll have to do as far as getting it permitted through the state to be a more modern campsite. The contracts aren't done yet. The first step in this project would be to get your buy-in to close the site for the camp season. We understand that there are some seasonal campers that have been coming in for several years now, and there may be an issue, you know, maybe some broken hearts, so they won't be able to camp there this season. The project itself is something that was identified in the Parks Master Plan, as well as a 2002 Sherman Park Master Plan. If we were to move forward with a lot of this on ourselves, we would probably have to close the campground, in my opinion, for the season anyways, just to do the construction. So the way that we're kind of viewing it is that this is one of the few drops of juice out of this orange, so to say, for this project that we can get out of it. Staff has reviewed it kind of conceptually. We think we can do this with your approval of closing the campground for the season. Engineering and the Parks Department and Planning Department will start working with the group to get a layout and site plan and all the necessary requirements so that they can put in the infrastructure. So again, just in summary, we would look for a motion to close Sherman Park Campground for the 2020 camping season.
Thank you, City Manager. It certainly is a creative way for the City of Sault Ste. Marie to do some much needed improvements to the campground, which was one of our goals, and for us to capitalize on this construction project that is coming to Sioux Locks. We appreciate your creativity for sure. I don't see coming out of this pandemic season, we might have been closed this summer anyway. Certainly there will be a shortage, I feel, of grant funds and maybe even loan funds for recreational purposes and things that are not repair of hospitals, health facilities, and some of the essential needs of a community. So I think it's, yes, there will be some people that are not happy, and maybe we can make some accommodations and work with them in other areas, but certainly look forward to a good discussion and move to Commissioner Baker. Any questions or comments?
Yeah, just a couple questions for the city manager. As far as I'm all for them doing what needs to be done up there, but are we going to make sure that it's going to be aligned with what we want done up there so we don't have to go back and, so basically make sure that it's aligned with our master plan if we're going to use what we have off of there or.
Yep. So they are looking for our lead on what the site would look like. Again, there was a plan that was put in place in 2002 that has some conceptual drawings. With the approval tonight, would kick it down to the engineering and parks to start programming it. But we have a general concept that we would like to go after. They don't want to just willy-nilly put anything in. They understand the deal that we're trying to get out of this. They are 100% in support of us getting this benefit from them. So they are going to look for our guide or direction in terms of how they lay out and where they put the infrastructure in that. So yes.
And will that be something that you bring before us at another meeting to show us what the plan is and how the layout's going to look and so forth?
Yes. Yeah. I didn't really think about it that far, but yeah. And we'll probably base it off the 2002, which I'll follow up after the meeting and just kind of give you what that layout looks like, and then we'll move forward with it that way. But we got to get the contracts in place, the agreements and all that stuff anyway. So there'll still be more opportunity for the commission to have input on that particular project.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Bosphorus Rath, any questions or comments on this item?
I just think it's a great idea. Who knows how long this would have taken to get the electric and the sewer hooked up to those campsites. So I'm for it. I guess if there was a way, if somebody always comes for the last 5-10 years and they have a spot, if there's a way that we could let that person know, hey, this is happening, we're going to improve the campsites, that type of thing, that would probably be a good idea, but I think it's great.
The Parks Department has a list of frequent flyers with the property. So
Okay.
if we get the approval tonight, they'll send an email or a letter to contact those people directly that, hey, we're looking to make some improvements to the site that you guys love visiting every year. Our plans are to make it bigger and better. And we hope that you pardon our inconvenience on this summer. And we look forward to having you next year with a redesigned campground.
Awesome. Thank you.
Commissioner Collins, any questions or comments?
No, thanks.
Commissioner Miller, any questions or comments?
Looks like it's a pretty good deal for us to get the park updated. I don't know how many years it would have taken if this hadn't come around. So I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. Commissioner Talentino, any questions or comments?
Thank you, Your Honor. No, I think this is a great idea. We've got a lot of irons in the fire with Ani Osborne, and I think this is a great way to get that park up to snuff where we can pull the monies that we pull out of Ani Osborne possibly up there as well. I think after this meeting, though, we need to get somebody on our Facebook, social media to let people know that it's not the beach being closed. You know how social media goes. People are going to think, well, we're closing the whole thing down. We need to jump ahead of this a little bit, make sure that people understand it's just the campground, the beach, the pavilion, everything's still wide open for business as usual this summer, pending we all get to go back to something usual. So, yeah. Thank you.
Good comments. Good comment. Thank you. Commissioner Tuardi.
Yeah, just to clarify, will the build out and the upgrades happen before their campers move in, or when do we expect, if this is approved tonight?
Probably both. They'll try to do as much as they can, but they want to get in and start working on that lock project as well. So they'll try to lay in the infrastructure and get going as soon as they can, but they may, build out as they live there as well.
Okay, thank you.
All right, great. Commissioner Tuardi, did you want to make the motion?
Sure. I'll move to close Sherman Park Campground for the 2020 camping season.
Support.
It has been moved and supported. Are there any other questions or comments for the city manager? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Bosphorus Rath,
Yes.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Tuarty,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion's passed. Under G business items, we have number 8, City Manager Brian Chapman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For commission considerations, a request from the fire department to submit an application to AAA for their traffic safety grant in the amount of $9,000. Fire Chief Labonte is looking to put a couple of traffic signs outside of the fire station that would basically alert oncomers that the fire trucks would be pulling out. There's a radio system that would be attached to it that when the doors go up or the sirens turn on, the lights would start to flash, and that would designate that the trucks are coming out and traffic should stop. We have the project itself budgeted about 12 grand. It looks like it's going to come in about 9 grand. But if we are successful in obtaining this grant, it's a no match grant. So it would pay for the entire project that we'd be looking to do. So staff would recommend motion to authorize the grant application, the 2020 AAA Traffic Safety Grant application.
Excellent. So we'll go to comments from the commissioners. Commissioner Bosmas-Rath,
No comment. Thank you.
Commissioner Collins,
No, thanks.
Commissioner Miller.
Just a comment. I'm kind of surprised that we haven't had these there already. It sounds like a good idea.
Thanks for your comment. Commissioner Talentino,
Well, thank you.
Commissioner Tuarty.
Yeah, I just have to say I agree with Commissioner Miller. I have seen people when they're trying to back the fire truck or the ambulance back into the garage, people try to go around them. And it'll just make that whole area a little bit safer. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Baker.
No, sir.
And City Manager, I didn't know if Scott in the lower left corner is Fire Chief. I don't know if he had any comments, or do we just keep forging forward?
I don't know if that's him either, but we can just keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward. Okay. Anybody want to make the motion?
Here, I'll make it.
Commissioner Talentino.
Motion to authorize the fire department to apply for the 2020 AAA Traffic Safety Grant.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Are there any other questions or comments on this item? Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Collins,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Talentino,
Yes.
Commissioner Tuarty,
Yes.
Mayor Gary,
Yes.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Bosmas-Rath.
Yes.
Motion passed. Thank you. On to the city manager announcements and updates. City Manager Chapman.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First and foremost is an introduction of our new civil engineer, Dave Boyle. Dave's been with us for a few weeks now. I was supposed to give a proper introduction at the last commission meeting, but as is the world we live in right now, we didn't have it, so I wasn't able to. Dave's coming from OHM, the private sector. He's got an extensive background in municipal projects from an engineering standpoint. He's actually had his hands on a few of the projects throughout the city of Sault Ste. Marie already. So we're excited to have him on board. Can't tell you how excited I am to have him on board. He's doing great so far. And we're looking forward to just starting to hammer out some of these projects that we've been kind of having on the back burner for a while. So look forward to working with Dave. He's been a great hire so far. I'll properly introduce everyone in person when we're able to shake hands and not have to do it this way. So Dave, you want to just give a wave real quick? I introduced you kind of everyone right there. All right, there's our man. So COVID, obviously a big thing here. We've responded as well as we can operationally and with public safety mindset. Within City Hall and our operations, we have reduced or closed or suspended most services that we had to from the governor's executive order to stay at home. This is include everything from face-to-face contact for cashiers, billing, some street department services. We've reduced our numbers throughout the buildings. We've got kind of a staggered shift of 2 guys coming in at one time, 2 more guys coming in a little bit later. We're trying to do the best we can at this time We do anticipate the governor extending that stay-at-home order. I'm surprised she hasn't done it yet, but I do anticipate her extending it to at least the end of April, as the federal government has extended their social distancing practices. So when that order comes out, we will adjust accordingly, just like as we has. On the public safety side of things, Chief Labonte and Chief Riley and I have been actively going back and forward and trying to plan for different scenarios. We've been having phone conferences once a week with members from different agencies, Community Health Department, War Memorial Hospital, Sheriff's Department, everyone and anyone that has an emergency role in what could be a real bad situation for us. So we're as planned and prepped as we are right now. We foresee it picking up before it kind of dies down, and we are ready to respond if necessary. So we'll keep you in the loop as we move forward, but just for a peace of mind sense, we are prepared, we've been prepared, and we'll continue to respond accordingly as we move forward with this. So with that, that's kind of my COVID update. That plays into my budget update. So as you all are aware from the email I sent last week, we started working on the fiscal year 2020, 2021 budget. We had a series of assumptions and forecasts that we were utilizing to create the document, and COVID happened and totally threw everything out the window. So what we'll be proposing to you is a very status quo budget, but we'll also be making the necessary cuts or reductions in revenues based on how long this lasts. So per the city charter, I have to get you an actual document. We'll email it to you the third Monday of April. So in a couple of weeks here, you'll have something. It's going to be pretty baseline. Don't think of too many big changes coming out of my office with the budget. What I am proposing to the commission, depending on what the governor's executive order comes out, maybe later this week, in terms of staying at home mandates and social distancing, I would like to push off the budget review meetings with the commission and staff to early May. Typically, or right now they're scheduled for the week of the 23rd of April, week of the 20th of April. We would like to push it out. I would really prefer to do it face-to-face if we can. It doesn't put us in a time constraint. We have to get it done by the end of May. So we'll still have time to have those discussions, but if we push them off a little bit, maybe we can have this face-to-face. I think it'll be a better conversation than over the internet, and it'll give us more of an opportunity to continue to monitor the situation and any potential revenue shortfalls that could happen from this. So the state response to COVID right now, from a financial standpoint, they have been shifting any and all undiscretionary funds to fight COVID, CDBG funds, discretionary grant funds, operating budgets, all that stuff. The state is fully funding the COVID response, which is good, but for our operations, that means grants could not come through, CDBG grants could not come through, shared revenue, road funding, all that stuff could take a serious nosedive coming into the next fiscal year, and that will have a serious impact on our operations. So, odd requests for an odd time, if you will, but I would really like to push back those meetings. And if I don't hear too much no's from the commission, that's kind of how we'll move forward. So before I go on, is there any questions about the budget or what I'd be proposing?
Thank you, Brian. Certainly is unprecedented time, and we appreciate your proactive leadership. And I agree with your assessment. Funds from the federal government and from the state government will be very limited going forward because so many resources are being put into use to help fight the COVID response and also to assist people through this difficult time. I think you're very wise in playing a conservative hand with the city finances going forward. I don't think there will be a lot of discretionary funds at all. So thank you for you and all your department heads, and certainly for finance and in being proactive and thinking about this. And I think, as we discussed earlier, the time frames you and I had discussed at one point, the timeframes are there and we will meet the timeframes, but that does not mean we don't go back after we thoroughly vet this information and amend our budget when we find out what the revenues will be from the state of Michigan, what would the revenues will be from other sources. Certainly, we know that the revenue sharing from the state is the second largest source of income for the city of Sault Ste. Marie, and service fees are third, fourth down there, and property taxes are number one. So all of those revenue sources could be lower and changed, and this is a period of unknown circumstance. So thank you for your leadership. And any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners? Commissioner Baker has her hand up.
Yeah, Brian, can you just clarify something? Because I've been getting some phone calls and texts about the police being able to pulling people over on their way to Walgreens or whatever, and $1,000 fines. Can you just clarify for the public what is happening there?
So we are empowered to pull people over. We are empowered to write out $1,000 citations. Are we? No, not as far as I'm aware.
So even though it's a stay at home, but we can go travel to the store and the grocery store, they can still pull you over?
Correct. Right. I mean, it's an executive order. We can pull you over for a lot of different reasons, but are we pulling people over because they're traveling to the store? No. Unfortunately, crime doesn't stop with the COVID, so we still have normal cop work to do. So we're not necessarily going around pulling cars over, checking them. We're not going door to door, to house to see if there's people from downstate in their facilities. Our approach right now to enforcing the governor's executive order is complaint-based. The calls will come into 911, which they have been doing. If we feel the situation warrants, we'll respond. We've been doing a hands-off initiation at first. We put a letter of cease and desist, either your business isn't essential or you've got too many people on your front lawn, whatever the case may be. We put that order up and we leave, and we won't ticket unless we have to come back. So there has been some concern about cops pulling people over. It's certainly not my agency. We've been in contact with the sheriff's office and the state police office. As far as I'm aware, they're not doing it, but I can't fully speak to what the sheriff or the state police are doing. But my officers are not pulling people over to check and see if they're going to the grocery store or if they're going to rent a movie at Video One or Family Video, or the case may be.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other commissioners have a question? Thank you, City Manager. Up to your future meetings and workshops.
Oh, I forgot about that. So all this stuff doesn't matter anymore. So we'll reschedule all the meetings and workshops. I mean, in a nutshell, everything's changed. There was one that was supposed to be next week for the pension review. We'll save that one because that's another one where the budget or the that meeting is better in person instead of online. So I threw it on there just to remind you that you have meetings, but then to tell you we're not doing them. So, and that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. And as I said, we're proud of your proactive approach, and we're certainly impressed with your response in a new city, a new community with new duties and new responsibility. And this COVID pandemic is just crazy. And you've done a great job at organizing all of our resources and making sure that we get our essential services provided. But also making sure that we take care of the over 100 employees that the city of Sault Ste. Marie has. So you have our thanks and our respect. Thank you. Moving on to matters presented by the public. I want to thank everybody. There were 26 people online here for a while, and it's gone very well, much better than I expected. And we're really happy to see former Commissioner Jay Gage, who is also the UP manager for our senator, the senator, Debbie Stabenow. So Jay, do you have any comments for the commission? And this is the matters presented by the public time.
Yeah, absolutely, Your Honor and Commissioners. I just thought I would pop on here tonight, and watch the meeting and and make you regret saying all those nice things about me. But to certainly let you know that our office is working remotely throughout the state. We are still taking in constituency calls and helping constituents navigate resources and help sign up for unemployment and navigate the CARES Act that was recently passed by Congress. So I just thought I'd let you know I'm quarantined with you here in Sault Ste. Marie. I'm over at my home in West Pier by the locks watching the boats go through. But if there are any constituents that need any resources, please feel free to reach out to me and our office and see what we can do for you in any way to help because we are in unprecedented times. I'll tell you, the senator is laser focused on getting all the PPE equipment that is necessary for the state of Michigan, all the ventilators that are necessary, working through the federal government to get us those resources here for the state of Michigan. And it's really an interesting time. I'll tell you that the first couple of weeks, the phone calls were very nice and we're all pulling together. The third week here, it's been a little bit more, let's say, rocky from some of the constituents. And so I hope people understand that this is going to take time to implement these programs. They're not going to be done overnight. As an example, the state of Michigan has just hired an additional 150 contractors to work in the unemployment agency to process those unemployment claims. They had something like, I think, 80 or 90,000 applications in the last week for unemployment. So this is completely unprecedented throughout the country, let alone the state. And so we're working on it. Please feel free to reach out if we can be of any assistance. And bear in mind, it will take a little bit of time to implement all these changes. So certainly some patience is critically important. And if I can be of any help to any of you on the commission or to Mr. Manager, I'd be more than happy to.
Thank you, Jay, for your commitment, and thank your boss, the senior senator. And there are worse places to be sequestered than Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. So
no place like it.
That's right. And Mr. City Manager, I think, well, we have to unmute everybody to see if anybody else has a matter presented by the public.
Yep, I will do that in a second. Just as a reminder, if you do speak, you get 5 minutes to state your business with the commission, and I will be unmuting everyone in 2 seconds. Just be patient. If somebody else is walking over you, just give them their time and we'll make sure to give you yours. So in 3, 2, Utah. Or no, crap. I did it wrong. I totally did it wrong. Hold on.
We're getting there.
All participants are unmuted. All right.
Okay, so does anybody have anything to bring in front of the city commission?
Good evening, Commission, Mayor and Commissioners, Dan Wires. Just want to let good evening, everybody. Just want to let everyone know that today, for those that we can get out fishing, the Ani Osborne boat launch has been pushed out, and we also have the Charles T. Harvey Marina boat launch that's been pushed out. And the sewage dump at the Ani Osborne campground is open and available if people need to utilize that. So spring is coming. I just want to let the commission know that and the public know that.
That's excellent news. I'm sure everybody's heard from several fishermen wondering when that would happen. So thank you, Dan, and your crew.
Well, you're welcome. We would have pushed in Ashman Bay this morning, but it's locked in and we had ice fishermen out there today. So that's probably a good week away.
Okay. Any other members of the public that have any information to present to the commission? Going once, going twice. Thank you for your attendance. And now we'll go to matters presented by the City Commission. City Commissioners, Commissioner Baker.
Thanks. First, I just wanted to say good luck to Steve. Thank you for all your help and guidance over the last 3 years. It's been an interesting ride, that's for sure. And I'm sure you'll enjoy spending more time with Justin and the grandbaby. So good luck with that. Another big thank you to War Memorial Hospital, their staff, their administration, everything that they're doing to be put in place to fight COVID. So huge thank you to them, especially my husband. And then as well as all the mask makers, the community is really coming together to, you know, do what they can from their homes. So it's pretty impressive. I know there's one group that's specifically making them for the healthcare workers, and then there's other people that are just making them to sell them and things like that. So it really is a testament to our community and how we all come together when we need it the most. So kudos to St. Marie, keep it up. Also, I just want to let everybody know, make sure that you're checking in on people for mental health. This is kind of our new normal right now. And I think more people in the near future are probably going to go a little bit more crazy than they are now. So just check in with people and just talk to people. If you need help, call resources that are available out there. Yeah, that's about it.
Thanks, Commissioner Baker. Anybody else have any comments for the commission? Commissioner Bosbus-Rath.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback what Commissioner Baker said, we did go to Tequamatum Falls, my family and I, and that's open. So, you know, that's a good spot for mental health to get out with your family. There weren't a lot of people, so it was easy to do the social distancing thing. So I think our community is doing great.
Thanks for those comments, Commissioner Bosbus-Rath. Commissioner Talentino.
Thank you, Your Honor. Actually, I got a couple of questions for the city manager. Grant, there's a lot of people getting outside, starting to do yard work, et cetera, because we have nothing else to do at this point. And I noticed that the drop off down at the city garage is still available and still open for them to drop their yard waste, I will assume.
Correct.
Are we gonna still go along with a curbside pickup or under dispatch street sweepers while this is going on? Or is that something that we're just gonna just cease? Or should we look at doing it?
It's going to be delayed. So we've got guys right now, short staffed, just a couple in at a time. You know, we want to do our early spring routine first, fill the potholes and all that jazz. So we're not going to do it. It's just going to be delayed a little bit. But we will get back to street cleaning and our operations once this all comes out. But, you know, we're going to maintain the maintenance schedule that we do have the best we can. And typically things were probably a little bit more done by April, but given the time that we're in right now, it's just going to be a little bit delayed. But yes, the yard waste or at the dump is still available, so people can scoop up their own, take it to the dump, and put it out that way too.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good question. Thank you. Anybody else? Seeing none, Commissioner Twardy, would you like to make a motion?
I move to adjourn.
Support.
Or
Been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Have a great day to everybody. Stay safe.
You too. Thanks, CJ.
Thank you.